good.
Okay, cool. All right. Hey, everyone. We'll give everyone a little bit of time to file in here. I don't suspect that we're going to have too crazy of a day here, but you never know. Let's see. All right. Is Nara even in the voice list right now? Oh, yeah. There she is. Okay, it's 5 minutes past. We'll go ahead and get started. So let's see. There's a couple of updates today, but before we get into that, I want to touch on just a few things with regards to glTF and some of the concerns I've noticed from our content creation community. So I know that there's many questions and concerns around it. We'll start with what glTF is to the platform, and just to kind of recap our support for 3D object formats. Right now, we support the following: glTF, which is JSON plus binary glTF, GLB, or just straight up binary glTF, collada, or .dae files, as some people refer to them as. We also use glTF as a material format for physically based rendering content. To reiterate why we chose to support glTF, collada is either currently deprecated, is in the process of being removed, or has been removed from various 3D modeling packages out there over the years. Blender in particular has only maintained it for legacy applications and has started the removal process by removing it from Linux. There's just one example. There's plenty of others out there in terms of 3D modeling packages that have removed collada or are in the process of, but it's generally the industry trend right now. For the viewer, we won't be removing collada anytime soon. There's still lots of content out there that people have made specifically for Second Life, where collada still makes sense. Lots of full perm models on Marketplace, for example, have a tendency to come with collada files, so we're probably not going to be removing it. However, the trend around other 3D modeling apps removing support puts us in a difficult situation. Namely, if people aren't building tools to support the format that you use, then you're kind of in a bad you're in a bad situation whenever it comes to people bringing content into your platform. glTF has been steadily growing in support as a modern alternative to Collada, so the decision was to build support for it and ship it. This is exactly what we've done with the 2025-05 update, which is our current default viewer for the official viewer. Other viewers are updating to support it as well. No ETAs on any of that, though. Next, I'd like to talk about some concerns on ripping and uploading content. Recently, we posted a demo of how to upload glTF meshes. I think Signal did a great job demonstrating the glTF asset upload process. In this demo, Signal visited Sketchfab, a known source for both free and for purchase 3D assets, and downloaded a model. The exact model doesn't really matter so much, I don't think, but for the sake of clarity, just because I've seen a few comments on it, the model was called the Doggy Meme Dog PS1 model. I know, quite the name, which was licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution license by a user named Rukitu, and I hope that I pronounced that properly. The attribution is in the demo. Is in the demo video description on YouTube. And this license permits usage by anyone, provided they credit the original source of the model. Sketchfab also allows you to license your works under a variety of different licenses, Creative Commons just being one of them. I understand that demonstrating downloading a model from an external source and uploading it is going to raise a lot of concerns from our content creation community. This has always been the case since we first introduced Mesh Upload. There aren't really many ways to solve that than to simply report copyright infringing content when you see it. That's how it's always been around these parts. That's really the only defense we have to keep content creators' work safe from ripping and re-uploading to the grid. I can't really stress it enough, but catching rippers starts with the residents. I've yet to see a good method to really handle that problem outside of community involvement to help catch bad actors when it comes to content theft. And I know that won't really satisfy everyone's concerns. I know that there will always be an ever-present concern around content theft and what steps we're taking to mitigate content theft. But the reality is that so long as there's an upload button somewhere, there will always be someone somewhere that's going to be a bad actor whenever it comes to that. That's how it was even prior to Mesh Upload, when it was just textures and prems. Anyone can upload an image whether they have the rights to do so or not. And finally, there's the concern around low quality and unlicensed content that might be uploaded from third-party websites entering into spaces such as the marketplace. There aren't great ways to handle this other than improving content relevancy in places like marketplace and highlighting high-quality content. High-quality content made for the platform will typically prevail, or at least that's the hope when it comes down to that sort of thing. As always, I invite you guys to post ideas, feature requests, etc. to the canny. So please do that when it comes down to these sorts of things. We always want to hear from our residents. So let's see. Creators need an easier vector to report stolen models. My community is currently dealing with a store blatantly uploading commercially licensed models from Sketchfab. So let me provide our IP infringement policy real quick. So that's our entire policy, that link that I just posted into chat, as far as reporting copyright infringement, DMCA, and so on. Inside of that policy document, there is a web form. If you click the link for the web form, you can fill out relevant information there. So yeah. Uh, let's see. So with that being said, um, we'll get into today's updates. Um, so other things to that I want to update everyone on in Viewerland at least. 2025-06 beta is out. Our current default viewer is 2025-05, which is the glTF mesh upload viewer. Right now, the headlining feature for 2506 is inventory favorites. We also have just various bug and crash fixes in that viewer. We're hoping to ship that as our default viewer in the very near future. Overall, things are looking pretty hopeful for that right now, barring anything particularly stopping in the near future. So hopefully we'll have more information about that in the coming days. Uh, Other than that, I think I'll open it up to the floor here. Unless Ryder, do you have anything?
No, no, nothing for me.
Okay. So let's see. Regarding AI generated content, we haven't really made much of a statement about that. I mean, ask on Canny, I guess. So I'm not really equipped to really talk about that from a policy perspective. And yeah, with regards to ripped assets from other games and such, like, I mean, it does complicate things, but, you know, things that are obviously stolen, should just, I would report it. See one question on the YouTube stream. How do Sims apply to be on feature Sims? I'm assuming like featured regions? Let's see what the system body 2.0 model thing is. Okay, Sarah, so just to make sure I understand what you're asking for here, you're pretty much just looking for a higher quality system body. I'm just kind of reading through, making sure I understand. So basically, take the system body, have the same parameterization, I guess, but just higher quality, and I guess more up to speed with modern content norms, I suppose. Okay. I mean, there's a few things we need to do to be able to support that better. Um, blend shapes is one of the things that we need. So, fun fact: the viewer actually does have morph targets or blend shapes inside of it, but we only ever use it for the system body. Um, so could be an interesting thing to do. Definitely something to keep an eye on Canny for us, I'd say. But overall, I think this also speaks to just generally how people dress themselves on the platform as well. There's some pretty good points in there for that. So how that process works is this will usually end up coming up in a feature request triage, wherein we discuss these sorts of things, and then from there we determine if, like, as a group, we determine, if we're going to track it or not, or what we're going to do with it. So I can't make that decision on the spot here, but I'll definitely keep it in mind at the next feature request triage that I'm present for. And yeah, yeah, Christy, the proposal doesn't talk about straight up replacing the current system body. It's more an alongside of, hey, this is a higher quality alternative. So, which I think is a reasonable ask here. The making the UVs match up though, that's a tricky one, I think. Like, not from a technical capability perspective. Um, you can totally do that. But I suppose if we were to go for like a new system body, I would want to see a generally better UV layout compared to what we currently have. So that's something that I would want to take into consideration as well. Having mirrored UVs for like your arms doesn't always make sense. Is the GLB importer for rigged mesh fully functional? Because I tried uploading a character once and it worked, but but then I made a non-human rig using the same armature, but it was not for GLB, but worked for DAE. Um, it should work. We generally try to go for parity on that. If it's not working, please file a bug report. Please include a sample asset if you can. Um, just something simple that reproduces the problem. We'll take a look at it. Also, to be completely clear, it has to be rigged against one of our rigs. We don't support custom rigs right now, so like the bento rig or something like that. Yeah, Cosmic, I saw low-key Jix's question. I'm not sure what they mean by how do sims apply to be on feature sims. I guess like featured regions is what I think they're asking about. I haven't seen clarification on that. Is the left mouse look button problem fixing the latest Vera beta. I'm not sure what exactly you're referring to. Oh yeah, feature destinations. I'm not sure what the process is for that actually. Let's see what you got, Joey. I'm pretty sure we imported this. Let me just double check real quick.
Yeah, Gaines, that should already be fixed in the current beta.
Yeah, I thought we did. Okay, so you should be seeing that in the very next beta that we ship, which, by the way, will be happening right after this user group. So let us know if it's not fixed. Uh, Ty, I hope I'm pronouncing that your name right. Ty? Anyways, any thoughts about implementing UDIMs? Uh, so that's always a fun one. From an authoring standpoint, UDIMs are great. Love them. From a real-time rendering standpoint, not not as ideal. Um, so I don't think we're gonna be supporting those anytime soon. In terms of like, you know, just you have your UDIM set up and you just have those natively. You just have like a native UDIM option like inside of Second Life. There's only so many ways you can really support those well. Um, and none of them are particularly ideal at runtime. So I don't think we're going to be supporting that. And yeah, Christy, they kind of do. I mean, for the most part, they do. And just multiple materials and so on. But there's also the problem of where you have UDIM tiles, you can have the same material across all UDIMs, and effectively each UDIM tile becomes its own texture. And then from there, you're just kind of looking them up based upon which UDIM tile you're in. Um, Doing that efficiently is not, well, I mean, so long as the UDIM, like you'd have to go through and detect which tile you're in and the shader, and then apply the correct texture from something like a so that's not really particularly ideal. Let's see here. Marketplace. Um, yeah, for marketplace stuff, I would direct that towards the web user group. Yeah, Christy, texture arrays are supported under OpenGL. Have been for a while. But yeah, unfortunately, right now for the whole UDIM thing, you're just gonna have to export multiple faces or use multiple materials or something. And that's also not ideal, but It's what you'd have to do for now. Can I import animations in .glb format? No, you still have to use .anim right now. Eventually, I want us to revisit animations and have those be driven by glTF, but right now it's still .anim. Yeah, or .bvh. One of the two. Looking over at YouTube, are there any plans for a Vulkan version of the viewer? So, porting to graphics APIs, other graphics APIs, is something we want to do. It's a very big project, though, for a lot of reasons. It's not just as simple as, well, I mean, porting to an API is never simple, but it's more complex than the typical porting process in the viewer's case. It's something that we got to do eventually, just because of macOS and the current state of OpenGL on macOS. Not to mention the state of OpenGL on Windows for ARM, and we expect that that there's going to be more people giving Windows for ARM a shot over time. So there is incentive to do that at some point. We're just trying to find the right time to prioritize it and the right approach to get it done. Hannah asks, when are we getting glTF with actual glTF features? Well, that's a progressive thing. So there's other hurdles to that. It depends on what the feature is. If it's a material feature, that's generally going to be a little bit easier to bring in. If it's something like glTF animations, that's a little bit more complicated. And if you're looking for something like blend shapes and custom rigs, that's even more complicated. There's some internal format discussions that have to be had. Obviously, whenever you upload a glTF file to Second Life, you're not actually uploading a glTF file. We're actually converting that to our internal format. And our internal format hasn't really evolved in quite some time. So we would need to figure out how to evolve that without breaking the viewers or any kind of legacy content and so on. That's something that we would need to go through and carefully navigate there. It's not a no, you're not going to get it. It's a, we need to figure out how to get you there, pretty much, without breaking other things in the process. We did do a lot of work with regards to supporting a lot of additional like material features in just glTF as a whole last year. Yes. The approach to do that probably wasn't the right way to do it in terms of making it work as well as we could in Second Life. So it's something that needs additional discussion and review. For us to figure out how, like, what's the best way to really do that. Additionally, we've just generally had a lot of priorities that have come up since then, which has resulted in us focusing on, for example, performance. Like that was a big one that we had to hit the brakes on a lot of things to try and work on. I do want to revive some of those features at some point, but again, it has to get somewhere up on the priority board first before we can really do that. Not to mention there's other things as well with some of that work. For example, the dispersion and refraction stuff that came with that. We would need to find a good way to port that into the current rendering pipeline. what's currently on top of the priority board. We have a few things that are floating around on the top. So 2025-07 is going to be the next release. And right now we're primarily looking at things like Discord, like proper Discord support finally. We're hoping to maybe get Apple Silicon support moving, which is a bit of a bigger deal when it comes down to overall platform support. CEF is finally on the priority list after kind of taking a break on that for a while. So we're looking to go through and get those things moving, along with just generally getting some technical debt wrangled as well. For example, multi-threading is a conversation that's happening again. How do we go through and make the viewer into a fairly modern multi-threaded application? Stuff like that. So some of these are smaller than others. Others are pretty significant and not something we're likely to finish in a single release. For example, the multi-threading problem, there are a lot of things we would need to do to really make the viewer fit within a modern multi-threaded design. Like, that's a very big pile of work, but we're going to have to go through and break that down to many smaller pieces, for example. There's a good question. Most mesh putties have alpha HUDs to hide portions of the mesh. This is faster than making an alpha layer, but less accurate. How about a viewer UI that allows for immediate alpha layer adjustment, perhaps by drawing directly on the system body or mesh body? So, opacity controls and blending controls generally has been an ask for the viewer for a bit. I think there's actually, I don't have the canny on hand right now, but there's a canny out there asking for like opacity control over um over texture layers for Bake on Mesh. Um it's an interesting one. I think that would be helpful generally for a lot of different use cases. Something that has been under consideration. Let's see here. Christie's asking, did WebRTC fall off of it? No, actually, to the contrary. WebRTC is something that we're currently working on, and 2506 will have a few bug fixes for that as well. We're trying to get that over the line sooner than later, so we can finally switch over to that. No ETA on that, but progress is being made. 2506 should make that experience much better. As far as what's driving our priorities, there's a lot of things that play into that. There's no one specific thing. We do review the canny pretty regularly, like on at minimum a weekly basis, if not daily. We look at how many people are voting for things. We consider that. We also consider how technically complex something is as well, as far as something to place somewhere on the priority board. And we're trying to generally do a better job of more iterative development cycles. So, like going back to the Vulkan stuff, Vulkan is an elephant, and it's a potentially multi-year elephant at that. So it's probably not something that we can go through and have a single person dedicated to making that happen, right? So we have to break that down to smaller pieces that can satisfy other parts of other priorities on top of Vulkan. So like, there is no easy answer to that question, unfortunately. It's just one of those things where we have to just part things out, have priorities kind of be built up around what we can do there, and how soon we can ship those things. it's no secret that we've been trying to go on trying to get onto a faster release cycle. So, there's that as well. Yeah, as far as the mesh with texture stuff, so right now, and we're still working on this. Right now, we support super basic texture uploads. If you just go straight through the mesh uploader. Alternatively, if you try to upload a glTF file as a material instead, we will pick up on the material inside of it. Right now, we only support the PBR metallic workflow. We might change that in the future, but that's what we currently support. The ability to click rigged mesh. Ryder, wouldn't we need some server changes for that?
I think so. I've not looked into it. I know it's been a problem for a while, and it's not something that I've explored at all. So, but yeah, it's probably got a server component.
Yeah, that's what I figure. Especially because you need the collision. You need a collision mesh for that, and rigged mesh isn't exactly great for that. Let's see. Do you have plans on expanding your development team to manage smaller things so the more experienced developers can focus on major priorities if you don't have the bandwidth? So I can't really comment on, what our hiring plans are or anything like that. Just when we are hiring, I can say something about it. Unfortunately, I can't really look into the crystal ball or divulge those details, I'm afraid. But we do have other developers who work on other things as well, on the viewer and on the server and so on. So it's just really a matter of, how we prioritize things. Yeah, Christy, I know about the avatar shadows problem and reflection probes. It's one of those things that we kind of, well, it wasn't a priority to fix whenever we were trying to release glTF materials, so. Come to think of it, we do have the collision bones. Um, just looking at the conversation around clickable rigged mesh. I know that's not exactly the most accurate thing to go off of when it comes down to clickable bits and pieces of people's meshes, but yeah, go for it. Here's one for your writer from YouTube. On the scripting side of things, are there any significant overhauls planned? Long ago, there was talk of multi-language support as well as adjustable memory limits larger than 64K, and plenty of requested optimizations like SCR74 from the old Jira.
Well, Slooh is hanging fire and about to. Slooh is going to be out soon. I don't know, but I think a major VM overhaul counts as a major overhaul. I'm currently working on a quality of life project for scripting and VS Code, so that will be in the viewer soon, I hope.
Oh yeah, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, just little thing like a completely new language and VM.
Being able to use external script editors.
Oh, you can already use one. It's just the integration is not very tight.
Oh yeah, I'm talking more about like proper first class support for it.
Yeah. Why am I coming in hot or?
Coming in very clear.
Oh. Well, that's because I'm not chewing at the same time today. So.
Oh.
Just as a quick follow-up to whoever asked from YouTube, there are regions on Aditi right now that you can play with Lua or with Slooh. So yeah, log on to the beta grid. And you can hold on, and I'll post them here in chat. But it's, I think, Tidelands, Mesa, and two others that are slipping my mind. But yeah, I will post them in chat.
If I recall, shouldn't we be having some of that, a couple regions coming up on Agni here in the reasonably near future?
Soon, very soon. I won't give dates any faster than you will, Keats.
Oh, I couldn't tell you.
Well, Lua itself has a lot of they're just structures in language which are frankly better than in LSL. You've got tables, arrays arrays are tables, but all of those sorts of things are available. Coroutines. There is a proposal right now as I'll find the pull request because it's open for comment regarding dynamic event binding. So yeah, there's lots of stuff coming in Slooh that you just can't represent in LSL. Bean, yes, there is actually there are two functions in Slooh that will convert a JSON blob directly into a Lua table, and then take a Lua table and convert that back into a JSON blob.
Got a couple more from YouTube. One is from MedHue Animations. I'd rather see a node editor for LSL. Come to think of it, I'm pretty sure I saw like a node editor for Lua just the other day, which I think would be somewhat relevant. Then the other is is X gonna be easy to learn if you know why? Is Lua easy to learn if one only knew LSL?
Oh yes, yeah. I think it's a lot easier. It's a little less idiosyncratic. Yeah, it's pretty easy. The only really tricky part that always gets me is that arrays start with 1, not 0.
All my code that assumes they start at 0. What am I gonna do? It's gonna be so much effort to update.
It's a hard habit to break.
Real hard sell there, Ryder. Really hard sell.
ChatGPT has a tendency to make up functions, or at least when I've played with it with LSL.
Okay, we got 5 minutes just as a quick time check. Okay, Ryder, it's time to make a Lua function called ll create script for me.
How about just LL profit? Takes no parameters, and since it already knows what you want to do.
Yeah, let's do that.
And it fixes all the bugs on the grid and gives everyone a pony.
Tiger, what you mean? People just don't naturally use reverse Polish notation.
Got a couple more from YouTube here. First one is there any good technical documentation on the Slooh generator, like type sizes and memory usage, word page alignment, etc.? I'll probably consider these two questions to be the last couple. Yeah, do we have any documentation on that, Ryder?
On which?
I'll repeat the question. Is there any good technical documentation on the Slooh generator, like type sizes and memory usage, word page alignment, etc.?
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm sure we're using a pretty standard VM, so I would say check for Lua. I'd say check the internet for that sort of documentation. It's all out there. It uses it's a byte code rather than assembly. So.
Yeah, that seems really more like one of those things where check Luau's documentation, which you can find somewhere on their website. Oh, yeah, actually, there is that one really big wiki page. Come to think of it, I would just throw that up there. Okay, we're technically at time, but I'll answer this next question and then we'll call it at time. Is development more focused on improving performance or adding features currently? It's a bit of a mix of both. Improve performance where we can, reduce crash rate where we can, and add features where we can. I guess three things there, but yeah. Anyways, we are at time. Thank you everyone for swinging by. I hope everyone has a good weekend. And be on the lookout for the 2025-06 beta.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep, thanks. See you next time.